Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 655. Without this, there is naught. Now, there's a huge debate about what the antecedent for the pronoun this is here. Without this, what? There is naught, or nothing, right? We're obviously going to need to study Emily's use of the word naught as well. That will be fascinating. Now, there's huge debate, again, as we said, about is she speaking about God? Is she speaking about religion? Without God, without religion, there is nothing. Is she speaking about heaven? Without the belief in heaven, there is nothing. Or is she speaking maybe about inspiration? You guys remember when we did 593? And this was the game that she played back then. It was so compelling. We need to enjoy it again. I think I was enchanted when first the somber girl, I read that foreign lady, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. The dark felt beautiful. And whether it was noon at night or only heaven at noon, for very lunacy of light I had not power to tell. The bees became as butterflies, the butterflies as swans, approached and spurned the narrow grass in just the meanest tunes that nature murmured to herself to keep herself in cheer. I took for giants, practicing Titanic opera. The days to mighty meter stepped, the homeliest adorned, as if unto a jubilee 'twere suddenly confirmed. I could not have defined the change. Conversion of the mind. Like sanctifying in the soul is witnessed, not explained. 'Twas a divine insanity. The danger to be sane. Should I again experience this anecdote to turn to tombs of solid witchcraft, magicians be asleep, but magic hath an element like deity to keep. Now, we are going to see this as another comparison poem. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. Hopefully you've worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 654 poems. We just finished with 654, a long, long sleep. Now, this is, again, a poem about gratitude, a poem about worthiness, a poem about what it means to have something you really care about. For Emily, I think it might be this poetic inspiration that drives her project. She'll say it this way. Without this, there is naught. All other riches be as is the twitter of a bird heard opposite the sea. I could not care to gain a lesser than the whole, for did not this include themselves as seams include the ball? I wished a way might be my heart to subdivide. 'Twere mighty, the gratitude, and not reduce the goal. Now, again, notice she says, whatever the this is, she says, without it, I'm nothing. Without it, I'm nothing. So, yes, it could be, of course, her faith in God, and certainly there's a way to read this poem from that perspective. But I want to make the argument that she's actually borrowing from that 593 poem we just read. And I think her argument is, whatever it is that she was given by whoever, the gods or whatever, and her inspiration, her muse, is what makes all the point of her life. Notice she'll say that without this, I don't have anything, it's naught. Now, her use of the word naught is compelling. Get ready maybe to write down a few numbers. We saw this word naught in 154 and 190. We saw it in 376. I'll just pause to remind you of this one. Of course I prayed. And did God care? He cared as much as on the air a bird had stamped her foot and cried, give me my reason life I had not had, but for yourself. 'Twere better charity to leave me in the Adam's tomb, married and naught, and gay and numb, than this smart misery. So her use of this word naught is fascinating. You'll remember it in 443, miles and miles of naught. 447, do you remember it in 458, just infinite naught, she will say. We saw it in 525, we saw it in 605, we saw it in 637, we'll see it in 696, we'll see it in 738. Very important, put a circle around it when we get to 759. Her use of the word naught there will be significant. We'll see it in 954, in 982, in 1071, in 1276, and finally in 1343. She loves this word, and I'm giving you all these poems so that we can come back to remind ourselves, this may be the most important moment with her use of the word naught. I have nothing without this, which clearly leads us to ask, what is the this? Notice she'll say it. All other riches be as the twitter of the bird heard opposite the sea. In other words, I don't care about any other sounds. Notice it's referencing sound here, which again leads us to think that maybe she is talking about her poetic venture. And then notice we go from I could to I wish. Do you see it? I could not care to gain a lesser than the whole. I want it all. Whoa. So here again, her comment again that all is the price of all, she will say in 772, a poem we're coming to. I want it all. I don't want just a little bit of it, a whole, right? For did not this include themselves as seams include the ball? Now, some of you will smile to ask, dude, is she talking about baseball? Right? Because you can't have a baseball without the seams. The seams and the ball are all synonymous. She says, I want everything. I wished a way might be my heart to subdivide. She says, I wish I could cut myself in half. 'Twould magnify the gratitude, the key word maybe of the poem. She'll use that word in 11 of her poems. And not reduced the gold. The gold here, of course, the riches that she's referencing. The power, if you will, of her work. Notice this is a suggestion of the translinguistic nature of her art. She can't talk about it, but if she could split herself in half, both halves of her would want to be grateful, gratitude, thankful for whatever this is. Now again, if you read it as inspiration, I think it makes some sense. I can't help but read this and think about Shelley's Defense of Poetry and Potable Gold. The idea of, notice the play on words as well. I wished a space, way space might be. But notice you can read this when you hear me read it out loud. I wished away, as in to give away. So it's almost as if she's playing games, suggesting whatever it is I have of this poem, it is a gift given to me that she seems to suggest she now wants to what? Give to you. The poetic transaction, which in the end will be the greatest thing of her life. At 2A, I think the message is here is that some experiences are beyond words, especially poetic inspiration, and therefore translinguistic. At 2B, well, obviously it's a question of who she's talking about or what she's talking about. At 3A, I mentioned Shelley's defense of poetry, again, that potable gold. In some ways, this poem as well is going to prepare us for our study of 657, I Dwell in Possibility, so you'll want to write that one down. Finally, what do you believe this poem is referring to? And as a poet or an artist yourself, where does inspiration come from? And are you grateful that you've received it? Thank you.